no woman is better than the wrong woman. There you go.
Well, does that go for boats too?
Yes.
I'm just.
Yes. Ahoy! This is your captain speaking, Greg Michael of Pinnacle Marine Group, Marine Surveyors, and welcome aboard the Nauti Buoys Boat Show. I'm joined by Captain Happy, Glenn Shadbolt, Marine Mechanic and Shipwright, and aboard this vessel, we talk everything about boats, the build, the mechanics, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We go where the seas take us. The topics will be endless. Electronics, marinas, restaurants, vacations, cruising and fishing. Our show includes live callers with real questions. Let's fare these waters together. Call 772-773-2600 every Tuesday between 5 and 5:30 p.m. Eastern. If you're a guest or a caller, you certainly are naughty. Hey, welcome to the Nauti Buoys Boat Show. I'm your host, Captain Greg Michael, Marine Surveyor. And sitting next to me is our beloved Captain Happy, Glenn Shadbolt, Marine Mechanic and Shipwright. And if you're a guest or a caller, you certainly are naughty. So some quick introductions. We got Glenn sitting next to me. Glenn?
Hello?
He said hello.
Hello.
All right. And we got Jeff Anton from Tarragon Engineering. He designed seawalls and docks. But that's not why he's here. He's here because he's looking to buy a boat and possibly repower. So today's episode is going to be known affectionately as to repower or not to repower. That is the question. So we'll get to all that. Right now, I'm going to do the favorite part of the favorite part of the show for Glenn, which is my joke.
I'm good today.
Okay.
I caught a fish today. I don't even care about anything today.
Tell the audience what you caught.
Oh, a 25-inch triple tail.
25-inch triple tail. And
Is that slot?
What?
Is that slot?
Do triple tails have a slot?
I don't know.
No.
Yes, they do. Have to be over 18 and only 2 per angler a day.
Angler.
Angler, whatever.
Same thing.
Best eating fish.
Budweiser.
I got to go see what it sells for. I'm going to weigh it. I'm weighing the fillets, and I'm going to go to the store and see what it costs.
I can't. All right. My joke. Here we go. A woman is walking on the beach in Texas carrying 2 fish in a bucket. A game warden walks up to her and asks and says, "Do you have a fishing license?" "I don't have a fishing license," says the woman. "You know it's illegal to fish without a license, right?" "I wasn't fishing, officer. These redfish are my pets." He said, "Your pets?" "Yes, officer. They're like a little exercise. So when the weather's fine, I take them to the water and I let them swim around. Once they're done, I give them a whistle and they jump back into my bucket and we head home." The officer isn't buying it. He says, "Okay, let me see this." She goes, "All right, watch." And she throws the fish into the sea. The warden waits for a minute, then says, "All right, now whistle to your fish and make them jump out of the water into the bucket." The woman turns to the officer and says, "What fish?"
She got away with it. All right.
Yeah. She got away with it. So, all right. So let's get right into it. To repower or not to repower? That is the question. Jeff, we're gonna first of all.
Can I say hi?
Yeah, go ahead. Say hi.
Oh, say hi. Just.
Who are we talking with? Did you mention his name yet?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. And I've been here once before.
You have.
Right. And
we recognize you, by the way.
In the complaints that I got afterwards were like, you kept fading as you went through.
Were you the guy that when I was covering this?
Well, no, hold on. So I was fading, and I kept telling people, like, we can't hear you. And I listened to it. I'm like, man, Aaron was nice and strong, my son, who's now in Oregon doing.
Yeah, but I could see you're not talking into the mic.
Well, right. But back then, I thought he was giving me hand gestures to, like,
hand what?
I thought he was giving me hand gestures, like, stay quiet down, quiet down.
Oh, yeah,
I thought it
you-
was too loud. And here, he was just putting his hand up in front of the mic.
Yeah,
and
but I
thought
was
that-
usually burping or just drinking water.
Here, he's burping.
Yeah. And you should never say he was giving me hand anything.
Oh,
Yeah, you walked right into that.
yeah.
Back door into the back. Yeah, okay. So you don't give hands for anybody, do you?
Just reaching for that back wallet, man.
Okay.
All right.
I'm sure Jeff has one. So by the way, Tarragon, that's the name of your firm. What does Tarragon mean?
Land
It does?
gone.
Land gone?
Land gone, yeah. What a great name for a sailboat, Tarragon. Like, you're offshore.
I always thought tarragon was a flower.
It is an herb,
It is an herb.
but it's spelled differently. But it is it is a double entendre. I used to like to use a lot of tarragon in my cooking, and
Yeah.
Mix it
Okay.
up now.
So you cook.
I do.
Okay. That's good. It's good to know. I'll be over. Anyway,
I've asked you, like,
My son became a very good cook.
Yeah.
I was a single parent for 10 years. Do you know why?
Why?
Because supposedly everything I cook tastes like dirt.
oh, jeez.
So he
But
cooked.
he actually now he can. I don't know how much have he now that he's got a woman and everything. She's like, well, you can cook better than me.
Well, once you get that triple tail fillet, bring it on over. I'll cook it up and make it
I'm
taste
gonna
really
freeze.
good.
No, I'm gonna freeze most of it.
Don't
That's-
freeze it, cook it.
I'm only gonna cook a quarter of it.
Bring it over.
She's
I'll cook it up, and
she's
I'll tell you how good it was.
She's in Ireland right now, so she ain't gonna be back till Monday. So
My buddy Josh makes his own version of an Old Bay. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Really good stuff. So we'll try that. But anyway, can we get to the show, please?
okay.
Okay.
Oh, good. No
So
argument.
the big question is to repower or not to repower. So you're going to take a boat, which is a piece of Tupperware, and it's rotten, and you want to put 600 horsepower on it and go beat on it like it's a new boat.
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
That sounds like putting 32 people on a Lamborghini yacht.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
It's actually a bigger question than that. I belonged to a boat club for a while that had very liberal rules, and we could go out at night because I worked during the day. And boat clubs you got to use from 8 to 4, and so that's a terrible option for me.
Well,
So now I'm looking to get on the water.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just lay down a little bit of criteria. First, what I'm looking for, and then how do we go about doing this the best
So what's
way?
your criteria?
Okay, so I think I would like to get off to the Bahamas, but I'm looking at maybe a maximum of 23-foot boat.
You're not going to the Bahamas. 2 reasons. One, weather. You gotta pick the perfect day, and number 2, range. So if you got a 23-foot boat with 100 and something gallons, going to the Bahamas is going to be real tough. You got to remember.
and you got to pick your days home, and dockage is. I got yelled at. I was washing a boat. I didn't even know water's 35 cents a gallon. You know what? The room at the marina was $5.50 a night. So if the weather's not there, and you got to leave the boat there extra time.
Yeah. 23-foot boats, Bahamas, that's going to be tough.
Well, I know a lot of people who have done it, but I think in younger years, I'm approaching a big birthday here. I'm not going to tell you which decade, but
Yeah, me too. Same one.
So, I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to buy myself a boat. I've had some good success in the past couple years, and so then the question is, I'm not going to quiet down for that one. So then, maybe the next question is get a decent boat that I can get offshore, chase triple tail and some dolphin and stuff. Still feel safe. I still would like to have twins. Would be a nice thing.
Yeah, but
And-
you got
and then
to
be
remember
able to
now,
get back in.
you're going to put 2 motors on it. Okay.
Well, okay,
But
so
listen to me.
I'm
There's-
still dialing out my criteria.
I know, but there's a saying in the Hamptons: before you buy an old Lamborghini, have a Lamborghini mechanic. So you're going to buy this boat with 2 outboards. Who was servicing? Do you know
Well,
what the cost
should I?
actually on those?
No, right, and should I? And then
Double
that's
the cost, yeah.
repower. Not
So
the
you need
repower.
2 of everything, constantly.
But even if you
I
repower
gotcha.
it or you don't, you still got to do service, which is expensive.
Right. Okay. So, kind of the last part of this
Mm-hmm.
is, I started thinking about it. I talked to my buddy today. He's got a 42 Hydro Sport. He said,
Nice boat.
why do you want to buy something to get across to the Bahamas? Just call me. And he said I could use his boat. I'm like, I'm not borrowing somebody's 4200 sport.
Oh, I will.
Okay.
Yeah. Give me his number.
Yeah. But, maybe the play is to get something that's very usable around here that we can use in the evening and make friends and go to the Bahamas.
Okay, sounds good. So if you're going to repower, Glenn had a point. Let's go with criteria number 1. And I'm talking structural. We'll get to size. We'll get to range. We'll get to all that good stuff. But let's go with criteria number 1 on structure, because that's what I do, right? I'm a marine surveyor.
Don't forget new gas tank.
Well, I'm getting there.
Okay.
You're the mechanic. You'll go there.
Well, I don't want to put a new motor in with your crappy, rotted out tank.
20-year tank,
Clog
yeah.
my pump. I'm sorry.
Right.
Go on.
All right, so here's criteria number 1. If you're going for the older hulls, even the big names, CV, Contender, Yellowfin, all these big names, right? Well, back then, in the older years, they had wood coring, right? What happens to balsa or plywood when it gets wet? It delaminates from the fiberglass, or it will rot. So my advice to you is, yeah, you can go with a great name. And listen, Contend is a phenomenal boat.
Intrepid, you can always repower it.
Yeah.
Intrepid.
Contend is a phenomenal boat. CV is a phenomenal boat. But I've done CVs where the stringers were rotted, right? So one of my favorite boats, but if the stringers are rotted, they're rotted. Transoms are rotted, they're rotted. Boston Whaler, they still use wood in their transoms. Good boat, but they still use wood in the transoms. So my advice to you, Jeff, would be, if you're going to repower, try and find a wood-free boat. That's the first thing.
Right.
So wood-free boats, and they usually in the later 2000s, right? So you're not finding a 90s boat. You're not even finding an early 2000s boat. You got to go into the kind of mid 2000s, late 2000s, because I'm going to tell you why. Even if you find a brand that had no wood in 2009, well, what did they core it with? Probably foam, right? Because no wood doesn't mean no core. It means they probably cored it with Divinus cell or any closed cell foam. The problem with that is foam gets wet too, and that kind of disintegrates. Why I like later model boats is because as things progressed, they got really good at vacuum bagging and infusion. So they're going to suck the resins right through the core, right around the core, and they're going to compress that fiberglass, and that core is going to be basically part of the fiberglass now. So years and no wood also need, what was the method of construction? Was it vacuum bagging? Was it infusion? And that's what you really want to look for. And what were the transoms made of, right? So what is your questions? What boats were you thinking about?
Okay, so started kicking around with them. Sailfish.
Yep.
They were phasing wood out in 2004. Prior to 2004, all their models were the Kevlar and something else layup stringers and everything else like that. So that's a non-wood. I'm looking for something in that, getting on the water for $76,000. There's other stuff that I'm not a contractor. I'm an engineer.
But do you need that big a boat? Because we did we did Bahamas in a 39. Everybody around, you could get a nice 22-footer, single engine, brand new. I don't want to mention names, but it had, inexpensive. If you're going to really do,
yeah, Glenn's right. I mean, if the Bahamas is your goal, If that's really your goal, the Bahamas,
You ain't doing it for 70.
you're not doing it for 70. Your power is going to cost you 70 by the time you're done with. All right, so let's just talk about this. Let's talk about what it takes to repower. And I'm going to go structural and Glenn will go mechanical. So structural, you're going to have to make sure the transom is solid. Or if it has a bracket, the bracket is solid on the transom. Now, if it's a wood cord transom, you're going to have to take the bracket off, or you're going to have to take the old engines off, and you're going to have to do core samples, and you're going to find out, is that transom still solid? If it's a 20-year-old boat, probably not. And then stringers. Are the stringers, if they're wood cord, are they still solid? Are they still good? If it's a 20-year-old boat and they have wood hat stringers, probably not. Decks, bulkheads, things like that. So anything that's cord, you got to find out. Now, if it's a no wood boat, you still have to make sure that the foam is good. So a surveyor can tell you with infrared thermography or just a moisture meter and a hammer. We can tell you if the boat itself is solid enough for you to go hang a new 300 horsepower, 4-stroke engine, right? So you got to remember something. You get a boat that had a 250 Yamaha 2-stroke.
You're adding a lot of weight.
It's a lot less weight than that 300 Suzuki, right? It's a ton less weight. So you got to even know if that boat can handle that weight.
Because then the water comes in the scuppers.
Right.
So you see it on the surveys all the time. They repower this whole boat, and there's two of us in the. Oh, well, you can't have two people standing in the corner. It's like, well, what the fuck?
Yeah, because water's flying into the boat through the scuppers. So you're adding a lot of weight to that boat, right? Structurally, that's what you really have to kind of think about. Now, Glenn will talk about everything else that goes in the repower, like fuel tanks. Go ahead.
Well, that's not the part. If you're going to repower it, you want to do a tank. And depending on the boat, you might have to, depending on the boat, if you're going to do the tank, you might have to cut the deck. So the cost just build. It's like restoring an old car. It just, it's quite the investment.
Why do you need a new tank?
Because aluminum fuel tanks 20 years old are usually shot.
You have corrosion. You can run the stable 360 and everything. And even the plastic, after cycles, you got to remember, every time you hit a wave, that's a cycle. There was boats in Montauk having a third set of diesels, and the hulls didn't even. So, how many hours did these first motors you have on them too?
Well, I'm just looking at.
Right.
He's looking at older boats,
right,
with high hours or something, and he's like, "Well, I could throw that engine off and just put a new engine on." So we're here to tell you, as the experts, there's so much more to a repower than what the common guy knows.
I think it's more nostalgia than a smart.
So,
move.
and talk about gauges and shifts.
No, you got to do everything. If you're going to really repower, everything has to be new.
Well,
every steering, every harness, you've got the whole thing. New tank. You got to put a new tank, and you got new motors because these fuel systems are hard. So it's got to be pure in this nasty thing that's vented outside. So you need new fuel tanks, all new fuel hoses. And now you sunk this money into it. You got to make sure the insurance company says, oh, I got 70 grand into this boat. I want to insure for 70. They're going to say, well, send us a survey. Then the surveyor comes and goes, this thing's a Franken boat.
Yeah. Okay. Well, but I'm also seeing a lot of stuff there out there on the market that is repowered. 2011, Sailfish saw one in the adverts. I mean, the publications.
Okay, 2011. So how old is that motor?
It got repowered.
That would be 13 years ago.
And what kind of motor?
Hold on.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, 13 years. After 15 years, the problems start.
Well, Suzuki's after 5 years, the problems start because they rot out.
No, it's not 5. But what I'm just saying.
2011. It's got. Here it is. And this is a little bit more than I want to. It's about $10,000 more than I want to spend.
Are you going to take children out on the boat?
Well, he is a child.
No, I'm serious.
No, I'm a menace.
Are you going to take children out on the boat? Grandchildren, other children?
I don't have grandchildren.
Oh, okay.
So 2011 Sailfish.
2011 Sailfish with repowered with twin 150 Yamahas in 2020. 80 hours on.
Yamahas, twin 150 Yamahas.
They're only 5 years old.
Right.
So in 10 years, you got to see whether or not you want to put new motors on the boat.
Yeah, but right now, and what's he asking for that boat?
63.
So you're paying for the motors. The hull isn't worth.
What is the boat, actually?
It's a Sailfish.
Sailfish
I don't know that.
2360.
Yeah, so it's a 23-foot Sailfish, 2011. He put new engines on it, and he's asking you basically to pay for the engines.
Right, but before you even get it, because we used to use Accurate up there, but you said Yamahas, right?
Yeah.
So as I was saying before you buy an old Porsche, you need yourself a Yamaha mechanic because you got a lot of money back there.
Yeah, we got those guys.
Well, but I'm just saying, so, he's got to come check out the boat. I mean, that's going to cost you well over $1,000. He's
So
got
let
to
me
pull
ask you
lower
this:
units and everything.
Why?
It's not bad.
Kind
5 years
of
old.
to sum up what's going on with Repower here, guys, is this. It's really not the make. It's not the model. It's not any of that. I mean, you're going to discount the older wood cord boats unless they're very, very, very hard quality, and you've done the repairs, the fiberglass repairs on wet decks or wet transoms or delamination on stringers. I mean, I got friends that have repowered and redone those Makos.
Right, but see, that's what I'm saying. We're not. That is like I have an old car. Mm-hmm. If you want to look at safety and everything, a new boat, that's more nostalgia. That's you're going to rebuild an old boat. You're going to make sure it's going to pass. And you're biting off a lot.
Right.
I've moved a lot of boats in my time. So
here's another thing. I broke a friend of mine. He's rebuilding an entire, totally refitting a 31 Bertram. Why? Because it's a cult boat, right?
Well, there's a place
everybody wants that.
Yeah, but you can get places.
You can get
now.
money out of that.
There's places. All they do is 31 Bertrams.
Yeah. Well, he's doing himself.
All they do. Well,
he's doing himself.
Yeah, but then when the boat's done, you can fully insure for whatever they've done.
Right.
They do the Boston
And
Whalers now.
31 Bertram. But to your point, a repowered Sailfish is, again, you're on that boat, you're probably just paying for engines.
Here's another one.
Yeah.
2007 Sailfish. Mm-hmm. Repowered with 2021 Suzuki twin 140s.
Seems they're all out of warranty.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Like, wow, that's 2 out of warranty.
And how much does he want for that boat?
53.
So again, you're paying for the engine, really.
Right.
Now, the questions you have to ask. And
Well, what
this
is
what
the boat it's on? That's the other question.
He just told you.
I heard the motors. I wasn't listening to them.
Well, because you're drinking. You got to listen.
2007. So add another 10 years.
Sailfish. So what you have to do is you have to find out, was the tank replaced? Were the fuel lines replaced? Was the boat surveyed before he repowered? You know what I mean? Those are all the questions you just have to ask. So I would tell the audience, it's okay to repower. I'm not saying throw a hull away. I'm saying do your due diligence, survey the boat, make sure the structure's good, make sure the tank's good. You even pressure test these tanks, right?
3 pounds.
Yep, 3 pounds and of pressure. And we pressure test the tanks, we survey the boats, and now we have to look how they have repowered it. And it goes, we go by ABYC standards, the wiring, everything, the steering, the controls, everything that's been done. And is that engine heavier and does it weigh down the back of that boat? And has the buoyancy been changed? Well, we have to know all that, right? So to answer your question, Jeff, which is the whole show basically, is this is why people go out and buy newer boats and with the engine package already on it, because nothing's been changed. It is that from the factory. We know it's ABYC compliant most of the times if they haven't touched it. And you're getting what you're getting. So I rather you go get a 2015 something or a 2018 something with 300 or 400 hours on it, and at least you know that boat is 100%. Now, if you're going to
both structure and
structure and engine. Now, if you're really, really into repowering,
no.
The only piece of advice I can give you: do not buy any fucking thing in Miami.
don't buy nothing. Man. No,
that's all I ask. I'm not going there.
But if you're
Fort Myers right now,
if you're really into repowering something,
no. I want to get on the water.
You want to get on the water
reliably.
And what's your budget? Let's talk about budget.
No, I mean,
you said 70.
No.
That's what you said.
No, I'd like to stay. I'd like to stay 50 or under.
So I'm going to tell you right now, there's probably not a.
We're down to 19 feet.
Yeah, there's not a good $50,000 boat. Certainly not. You're not. Let's put it this way: you're not buying a $50,000 boat to go to the Bahamas.
You're taking up snook fishing.
Right. I got the Bahamas, but
so a $50,000 boat in a new era.
But I do want to go.
You're buying a small boat.
I still want to go offshore for dolphin.
You're not doing it.
Dude, I got a 30-foot Allura. They said the weather wasn't that bad. I just thought it was the end of outgoing. I had waves coming over, and then with the following sea, the inlet was a disaster today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not saying I'm going out there every day as it's my occupation.
Yeah, but then you got to remember, you go out there and the weather changes. You still got to get back in. If I can't get back in, because then I got to go to Fort Pierce to get home.
Well,
I had a 17-foot. I had a 17-foot Key West, and I caught more stuff out on the edge of the Gulf Stream. I was a lot younger then. Maybe I wasn't.
Yeah, but you got to
I think
spend
you were
days
just
and everything.
stupid. Yeah, you were a little stupid.
It's been windy every day. Supposedly the wind's going.
Well, this is Florida, so what happens is the beginning of the day, the mornings is nice and calm, and the afternoons it heats up, and you get winds, right?
Right.
You get weather. You always get your thunderstorms. You always get your rain. Certainly in the summers. So I'm just. This is my opinion. After surveying boat after boat after boat for 30 years. My opinion is it's going to take more than 50 grand to do what you want to do. You want to do blue water, you got to get a pretty good sized boat, 24, 25. I know you want twins, but listen, everybody, twin motors, it's a great thing to have because you think if one goes down, I can get home with the other.
×2 on the calculator for me.
Yeah, but ×2 on the calculator for service. So that could bankrupt you. I would rather get one engine and get the $129 subscription to Ceto or Boat US.
Right.
Because the two engines is just, it's just cost. It's just major cost. So on a boat you want to buy in a budget, you want a budget boat basically. And that's okay. Your utility is this. Greg, I'm going in the river, and then I'm going to go out in the ocean a few times here and there, and I'm going to go catch some cobia or whatever, dolphin. And that's okay. So if you came to me and you said, this is my utility, I always go by utility, folks. So does he need a CV, a Contender, a Yellowfin, or any of those boats? No, you don't need that. Could you buy a Tidewater? Can you buy a Sailfish? Can you buy one of those boats? Yeah, you could. That'll do you fine. And a no-wood construction and a single motor on the back, and maybe you get a trolling motor, right? So if you really have to get somewhere, you can use the trolling motor. But my opinion, so the show of repower or not to repower is... I'm a firm believer, and this is coming from a guy who repowered a Viking. So Glenn and I were in that bilge for a long time.
Did you miss him?
No.
So
a horrible boat to work on.
Yeah, so Glenn and I repowered that with diesels, and you're talking about boring out exhaust. You're talking about new exhaust, new fuel lines, tanks, this, that. I mean, everything, stringers. I mean, everything had to be done right.
Glenn suddenly looks seasick, remembering it.
Well, the transom we ripped off, we reglassed that. We did that whole boat. I mean, painted the boat with Alex Seal. I mean, the boat came out showroom. It was actually in a magazine. It was in Boating Magazine. It was, a showpiece.
Yeah, but you got to take the whole seats apart every time you want to open the engine room.
But it literally was a year and something months of working on that boat to get it right. Would I do it again? No, I wouldn't do it again.
And it's still an old boat.
Still an old boat. Well, it's a battle wagon, but it's still an old boat. So that's what I would say to you. I would say to all the folks listening out there, repowering, if you already own the boat and you know the boat and it's your boat and
if
you
you're
love
very
the boat,
knowledgeable.
right, and you love the boat and it's sentimental and all those other things, then go ahead, repower. But have it surveyed before you repower. Don't repower something that's wet and something that's falling apart. Repower. If you're a guy looking to buy a boat, change your utility. Don't look for a boat that's repowered. Don't look for a boat that you have to repower. Go look for a boat in your budget, and your budget might have to come up a little bit, or you might have to wait a little bit. But go look for a boat in your budget, and
don't make the major boating mistake.
Right.
You know what the major boating mistake is? If you buy yourself a boat tomorrow, you need to throw that thing in the garbage and be able to take the hit.
Right.
Because these people buy these Sea Rays with the 8.1, it's like, okay, I need $6,800 for parts, just for the exhaust, and then just something. I need $8,000 to get started. And, some people are like, okay, I need it for the week, and the other people are like, oh my God, can I get the? It's like, so now you spent more money on your boat, and you can't even fathom. Well, that's the generator. It's 3 boats.
We used to say, you know what we used to say? If you could afford to lose that boat and that money, then you should own the boat. If you can't afford to lose that boat and that money, you shouldn't own the boat. That's what our rule kind of was.
And makes it happy in the house.
Part of the 3F rule, and we won't go into that.
Right. Right. So what questions do you have before we wrap it up?
So then looking realistically at, a boat and power, so say, okay, like power, let's just go with power. What are the general rules of thumb? Like we talked about these 2 boats, one's still got a little bit of warranty, one's just out of warranty.
Well, that's where you got to be the shopper. You really, you got to do your homework, and you got to remember, a good-looking woman can still be a whore. So, are they selling the boat because of something, or it's like, oh, this thing's a lemon, let's just get out of it and start anew. Right. So you're going to have to pay, Suzuki, Yamaha, whatever the power is. You're going to have to find that mechanic, and he's going to have to find, check it out, which is going to be pricey, and then have him service it.
Well, I think what you're asking is, so where do you go from here? What models? Right. I mean, what do you look at?
I can't go through this entire thing and say, hey, I like this boat, and then go give.
No.
Yeah, but if you're not handy, repowering an old boat's not the way.
No. Okay,
we're done with that.
We're talking about buying a boat. So every time I see a boat that looks reasonable, it's like, okay, yeah, that looks reasonable. I'll have a mechanic check it out. I can't do that 100 times.
Well,
so
people like.
So what do you have in a rule of thumb? Like,
then buy new.
This particular one,
just
an
buy
8-year-old.
Buy new. We Amberjacks. We did what?
4
surveys for somebody on Amberjacks. $2,000, $3,000.
You don't have to buy new. I disagree. What you have to do is you have to buy relatively new, right? And you have to buy something that's decent, something middle.
At what point do ours?
Well, that's where your mechanic comes in.
Hold on. At what point? I know, but when I'm looking at stuff, I mean.
Yeah, okay.
I'll drive you nuts and say, Glenn, what about this boat? You look at the specs and say, no.
Yeah, but I had 60 customers. That was my job all the time. I just got one from an old customer today. It's a great deal. It had Evinrude's on it. I'm like, are you kidding me? I go, you can't even.
You don't want Evinrude.
Right. So, exactly. So what am I using as my own screening
Me personally,
tool? Like hours or age?
No, okay, I'm going to give you my personal.
Because each one's different. Your mechanic, whether it's Suzuki, Yamaha, or Merc, is the person you're hiring because you're buying used.
But I have to do the screening myself
in the beginning. But you still have to have your mechanics in place because you have this machine and you don't want to ruin it.
All right, so let me give you my opinion.
Right.
My opinion is you need a middle-of-the-road boat. Sailfish, Tidewater, Key West, Robalo, any one of those middle of the roads. If you see Contender, CV, Yellowfin, Regulator, all those top tier boats, they're probably not for you, right? Because if they're selling them and they're cheap, there's something really wrong. So they're always going to ask top dollar. So you go with the middle tier boats, the boats I just mentioned. You start there, and what I would do is I would go on Yacht World or boats.com, put in the size, put in the years. I would start with at least a 2015, 2016, 2017, something like that. So years and how big you want it, right? I mean, size, year, and then put in your price range. So, $1 to 80,000. Why I say 80,000? Because everything's negotiable, right? So, and then under the drop down, hit center console. Because that's what you want.
Right.
Now you're going to look at all the boats.
Right. I've been through that exercise already.
Okay. So now don't look for the ones that have been repowered. Look for the ones that haven't been repowered, but are the newest. Go with the newest boats first. Not the least expensive. Go with the newest boats first. And then you have to say to yourself, do I like this? Do I like that? And middle tier boats will do everything you want utility wise. Listen, a boat's a boat. You're not the guy going offshore every day. You're not the guy going, doing the 5, 6, 7 footers. You're not that guy, right? So
I told you about the Key West, didn't I?
Yeah, but you're not that guy. And then you start to do that. Now, you just had a great point. You're like, all right, so how do I know? How do I know what's good, what's not?
Well, I don't know that I know, but what do I use as a screening tool?
It's the same thing.
Hours? I mean, what do you do with it?
Okay,
80 hour.
So
80
hours,
on the
I wouldn't.
motor.
I
It's
wouldn't.
not as much
6 years old.
hours
Yeah,
as
it's not
it's
the hours.
years.
Right, it's
Unless
not the
it's
hours.
crazy. Because the problem is they ride out.
Yeah, don't go with 1,000-hour engine, but don't be really scared of a 500 or 600-hour engine.
But if you buy a 10-year-old engine, you got to say to yourself, this thing could maybe ride out in 5 years, depending on how good the block is.
Right.
So you might have 5 years
Rule of
left.
thumb
like
on
an
these
airplane,
Mercuries and these Yamahas, rule of thumb is 15 years.
Right.
Then you're done.
So if you get in cheap with 10 years, like on an airplane, you got to start putting money in the kitty saying, hey, the motor could last another 10 years. Don't get me, the motor could, there's still some OX66s out there.
Yeah, but you're putting a lot of money into them. So that's the criteria I would go with. I would say, how big do I want the boat? How much do I want to spend? And the year I would start in the 2015 range and see what pops up. And if you see a sailfish, 24 sailfish with a Yamaha, a 300 Yamaha on it, and it's got 550 hours, okay. I'm in, and it's $60,000. I'm in.
Oh yeah, you can find that right now. I mean,
Right,
you can find that for 50.
But that's okay. That's a good boat. That's so much better than these boats that are repowered and this and that, because the package is there. It's done.
Right. I'm not seeing sailfish with the 2360. I'm not seeing that with 300s. Hardly anybody's got 300s on those. 200, 250.
Well, the 250 is fine. That'll push that boat. It's a light boat.
And then check each motor.
Yeah.
Look at the reviews. Some motors are money pits.
Yeah.
Yami had a couple of bad motors.
Yeah, like you don't buy a 350 Yamaha ever. You just don't do it. Right?
So, just like cars, they're good cars and bad cars.
Yeah.
So,
and Mercury with the Veratas, with the superchargers, well, they're expensive. They're great engines. It's $1 million motor. So, okay, so you just asked, so Greg, what do I do? Well, This is what you do. Just like you hire a lawyer and a doctor, now you have a surveyor and a mechanic. And for everybody out there, my number, 772-773-2600. Jeff, give me a call. Give me 5, 6, 7 boats that you found on Yacht World and say, what do you think? And we'll go through it. I'll do that for you. It doesn't cost you a dime. I'll do it for you.
Right.
All right. But the repower thing. So to summarize, I think to repower or not to repower. What is the question for you, Jeff? Not to repower.
Right, because I'm looking for,
Yeah.
I'm looking for utility. I mean, it's
Right,
not.
right.
I don't have any particular passion for
Well,
oh
how
my God, I
utility?
found
You can get a
vacuum.
Carolina skiff if you really want. You can drive your
You're
Volkswagen
gonna pound.
around.
You're gonna
Yeah.
pound. So, all right.
Well, okay, real quick.
Yeah.
Real quick. What about the ride on some of these boats? I mean, the reports that
Always demo a boat. Always.
Yeah, always see try
I don't wanna
boat.
talk
But
about that.
I'll tell you this: I've surveyed everything out there, everything. And again, you're not going to be able to go from ad to ad to ad and say, "Let me ride on your boat." They're like, no.
Oh,
give me a
remember the
deposit.
dive boat that was turned into a? Remember the one they repower with the outboards?
Yeah. Stay away from Frankenstein's. But what you got to do is you ask your surveyor. So you call me up and you say, "Hey, you're going to be my surveyor no matter what, and I need advice." People out there who are really interested, you can definitely email us at the show, nautiboysboatshow@gmail.com, and email us if you have questions, and definitely say, "Hey, I'm looking at this boat. What do you think?" And we'll give you our opinion. It's only our opinion. But again, I've been on 12,000 boats. Glenn's been on probably just as many. So our opinion's probably pretty good. So that's what you do. You call us and you say, "What do you think about this or that?" And we'll tell you. And the ride, I mean, there's Stewart Boatworks. They build a phenomenal boat. Joe Walco, he builds a great boat. You might find a used one of those. It's a good boat. He builds a carbon fiber hull. It's a good boat. Conch, they build a good boat. Pursuit, they build a good boat. So, there's boats that you probably never even heard of that I have. And you say to me, "Hey, Greg, what about this?" And I go, "Oh, wow, that's a needle in the haystack. Hey, you found a good one." So just go on Yacht World, look around, give me a call, and we'll tell you.
No, one last question. Boats that, like you said, 2015, you start rolling them off the market. They're still out there for sale. They're still going to get bought and sold, and things aren't selling like they did the year of COVID, of course. But
Well, that's a lot of reasons they're for sale. Is because people are like, now I'm on borrowed time. So do I sell it now and just buy another new? They bought the boat new or whatever, and you just buy a new one every 10 years. It's actually smart money if you think about it.
right, and then
just need
which
money.
which one of those? Yeah, but which one of those do you go ahead and you have the money? I don't necessarily. I'm one of those people who don't like to live money easy. I don't think most people do. So I don't want to be unnecessarily crazy and get myself into something that,
Well, before you buy it,
but something that you buy and say, "Hey, I have friends that have bought boats, bought them right and everything else, and they buy them, put them back together for."
yeah, but they do that themselves.
16, 17. No, he had done it himself, but he just happened to find anyway. So he ended up selling it for $6,000 more than, my friend with the 43 Hydrosport. He found a great deal, saw it was a great deal, put it under contract. 2 days later, the guy calls him and says, "I'll give you your deposit back and $10,000. He said, "No, I'll give you your deposit back in $30,000. He got him up to $50,000, and he said, "No," because he had an offer for $70,000 more than.
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, I'm doing this contract."
Those days are pretty much over with the COVID stuff, and you're not going to find that. And the needle in the haystack is gone. And anything you find right now, you're going to have two types of sellers because it's a buyer's market right now. You're going to have two types of sellers. One that still think it's COVID and they want to sell their boats for $1 million no matter what. Or two, the guy who's had it on, keeps lowering the price and goes, "All right, now I'm realistic. Yeah, it's really, I started at 75, but it really is a $55,000 boat." Those are the two guys you're going to encounter. So if you see the boat for 80 grand and I tell you it's not worth it, right? Because I have all the research material. I have the websites to go to. But I say wait on it. Nobody's buying that boat for 80 grand. And all of a sudden, 3 or 4 or 5 weeks later, it's down to 70, and then it's at 60. That's when you start making offers, you know. So, but you got yourself a rabbi. So I'll help you. Right. I'll help you. All right. Hey, listen, we're going to get to some questions. I got some emails. So
I can answer questions.
Yeah, you got, and so does Jeff.
We'll see, maybe.
All right, so I got questions for me first. Let me see these emails I got here. Okay, Steve S. from Huntington, New York. Oh, we know Huntington, Glenn. Is there a boat that you can repower and make money on? Huh.
Just like anything else, you just got to know.
Yeah, that's
whether you're flipping houses or boats or women, whatever the hell you know.
The problem is the boats you really make money on are the high-end boats, so you're not stealing them because they know. And the other boats are the cult boats like Bertram or Hatteras or Viking. And you're going to put a lot of money into these things to make the money. So you're chasing money. If you think you're going to get into the business of flipping boats, boats are a depreciating item and they're both a breakdown item. So it's real hard to make money on boats. There are professional wholesalers out there like Off the Hook and, you know, the rest of those guys. They are really good at it. That's what they do. But for a consumer to try and flip boats and make money, no. If you go and find an old 31 Bertram and you want to redo it and try and make money, you're going to put a lot of sweat equity into that boat. You have to be able to do it by yourself.
Well, that one's easy. There's people that already do it. You can already know what the end number is.
Right, but you can't do it yourself. You can't. Unless you're in the business and that's what you do. All right, second email. Bill F. from Beaufort, North Carolina. My boat is a 1995 Boston Whale 32 Outrage. It seems to sit lower in the water and even over the scuppers. Any reason for this? Yeah, Jeff wants answers.
It's a whaler, so everybody should know that one.
So what's happening is the wood in that transom is very thick. It gets wet. The foam, it's foam filled, that boat. The foam gets very wet. And believe it or not, it weighs down the boat. So the boat gets weighed down. And unfortunately, the only way to bring that boat back to its proper buoyancy is to recore transom with a lighter core like, Kusa board, some kind of foam cell, some kind of like Kusa board thing, and replace some of the foam that's been wet. And you're not drilling holes in it. You're not sucking it out. It's got to be replaced. So that's my two questions. So I hope we answered them right. Keep emailing. Questions for Glenn. I'll read them. You answer them.
I don't. I have to talk with these people. I don't know why these people send this in. I'm gonna have to.
Okay. All right. So Ray G from Stewart, Florida. Why do you need a remote fuel filter separator on outboards?
Why do I wear shoes? Well, you know what? If you had a brand new sparkling fuel tank that wasn't vented to the water like a car, you could get away and just have a regular one. Mm-hmm. So unless you have virgin fuel, you need a rock and bottle catcher before it gets to the filters on your engine.
So you want to prevent your engine from sucking in sediment, water, things like that.
Corrosion, yes. Corrosion. God knows what you people put in these tanks. It's just disgusting.
And really by the way, the fuel you get from some of these marinas and even gas stations already have water in it. They already have.
Well, remember when you had high tides, there was a lot of places you couldn't get gas at, if you remember right.
Right.
So it was that time of the year. You can't go there.
So a remote fuel filter is always a good idea.
Always.
Okay. Second question for Glenn. Doug N. from Boston, Massachusetts. Do you recommend putting an additive in fuel when I gas up? I have inboards, 8.1 Merc Cruisers.
Yeah, that's easy. Stable 360 every time.
Stable 360.
And it's got that vapor stuff that helps keeping the tank from rotting out, so you don't have to change it as long.
Very good answer. Okay. And we have some questions for Jeff. Are you ready, Jeff?
Yeah, let's go.
You looked a little preoccupied, but...
Yeah, I'm just looking.
I don't know what's on your computer, but if I don't want to look.
It's a
Is it private?
No, it's a sailfish.
Oh, it's a.
I'll
He's looking for boats while we're doing this show. That's awesome. Okay, Jeff, here we go. Neil P., Jacksonville, Florida. What is the educational route you need to take to become an engineer to build seawalls?
Oh, definitely ABET accredited university, civil engineering.
It's what?
ABET accredited. There's a standard for universities for engineering that's pretty standard that you want to do that. Civil engineering, mechanical. The guy that I got working for me actually graduated with aerospace engineering. Brilliant kid, great structural guy. TJ.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Super guy. So engineering degree. You could do it with your degree and then eventually track to professional engineering. Mm-hmm. You could go on as a tech and just give me a call, and if you want to work that bad, we can put you to work if you learn CAD and as a technician, and you're not signing and sealing them, but you're in the field and playing with seawalls and docks, and I got the greatest office in the world. Backyard, sunrise. It's nice. It's a good meeting rooms.
So to be an engineer, your position as the engineer, your importance is you have that seal.
Correct.
You can sign off.
Right. For the most part, though, you're going to see people in our position with a master's, usually coastal engineer masters.
Is there any internship that you got to do for dock building and all that?
Yes, you.
Because I did 4 years doing that and everything, doing the pilings and, is it mud? Is it this? Just...
Right. Engineering, you take your fundamentals of engineering license just out of school. You enter your 4-year internship. You have 4 years of experience under a PE, and then take your PE exam.
Cool.
You can actually take your PE exam right out of school right after you do the FE exam. If you do that, then you're home free. Get a master's degree, you get a couple of years credit, but it's
do you have to take any of those? What do they call that with rocks and all that? And
geotechnical engineering.
Do you need to take geo? Okay, I'm just curious because
part of civil engineering, or you learn it. Like TJ he's just a brilliant man. So he just learns everything.
So you're a civil engineer.
Yeah, I have civil engineering from Ohio State and master's in coastal engineering. Yeah.
Ohio State.
Yeah, my son's at Oregon State, and I tell him he's going to an OSU, not the OSU.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go on to the next one. Pat F. from Clearwater, Florida. You're getting a lot of Florida here. Have you ever had a catastrophic failure after designing a seawall? If so, please share.
Not me.
You know what? It's
However,
not that you would admit it.
They're not that high here. You go up to Rhode Island or Maine, the fucking things are 60 feet.
Right. Well, Daytona's usually Daytona after the multiple after the hurricanes. I'm expecting some up there.
All right, give me a story. What catastrophic failure?
Well, no, but I do get called on a lot of forensics, and I do a lot of expert witness stuff. Mm-hmm. But there was a wall done over in Tampa. It was done in 2016. So, and it failed after Milton. And the guy, called me and said, what do I do with this? And can I recover anything? I said, no, you're outside of the statute of repose, which is the time frame in which you can actually sue to recover on a project.
So what was it, silt on the other side and it got wet?
No, it was this simple. Their design criteria, they did not include full hydrostatic pressure. It's like engineers don't think what happens in Florida. We get 21 inches of rain from time to time.
And it's not clay. It's soaking it all up.
And in Tampa Bay, Hurricane Milton, because of the way the storm came in, blew all the water out of the bay. So there's no water on this side of the wall and all the water on this side of the wall. And the tiebacks weren't buried deep enough, and the wall moved 6 inches and sunk and deformed and everything else, and the guy's got no recourse. He's $160,000 out of his back. Talk about throwing boats away. Well, he's threw a seawall away. Yeah, because of an engineer. Plus, most of these engineers don't carry E&O. I carry E&O. I stand behind my stuff. E&O is just professional liability insurance. If I make a mistake, you have recourse through an insurance company. engineers don't carry that. It's a wild, wild west in Florida. Like I've said before.
Oh yeah, just like boat repair.
I got to tell you though, that sounds like such a simple mistake.
It is. And the engineer that did it has done several thousand walls in the Tampa Bay area on the west coast of Florida. Well-known name, and I just shake my head and like,
yeah. Well, listen, you're only as good as your last seawall, right?
He got the price. The price was right. He took. He could.
Yeah.
He took the lowest bidder.
All right, fellas. Listen, we're getting at the time.
Hey, guys, I just got to say,
Yeah.
I guess seawalls are much like boats. You don't always get what you pay for, but you will always pay for what you get.
That's right. Hey,
I got this guy reaching for my wall. Oh my god!
That was awesome. Great. All right, guys, listen, we're getting looks over here, so we got to kind of wrap this up. Just to let you know, the call-in number is 772-773-2600. The email is naughtyboysboatshow@gmail.com. Feel free to write or call us. We'll answer any questions. And please, we're going to do tips. We have to do the tip. So my tip of the day is, because of the show, is don't repower. Buy something that's a full package. Glenn, what's your tip?
No woman is better than the wrong woman.
What?
I said no woman is better than the wrong woman. There you go.
Well, does that go for boats too?
Yes.
I'm not playing today. I was late.
I told my buddy I'm shopping for a boat. He goes, "Why don't you just get remarried instead?"
Right.
Ain't no sense of being stupid if you can't.
What
prove
is your
it.
tip?
I think it was what I just said earlier. You don't always get what you pay for, but you will always pay for what you get.
Fantastic tip.
Where'd my wallet go?
We're gonna put a banner up here and keep that on the wall. All right. So listen, we're down here in Southeast Florida. Anybody needs a marine survey, please call us at 772-773-2600 or go to our website at pinnaclemarinegroup.com. So I would like to thoroughly thank my guest today, Jeff Anton from Tarragon Engineering. And I got to thank Glenn. I have to. It's in the contract, so we have to. God, the look. I'd like to thank our producer, Jeeves, and our assistant, Samantha. I'd also like to thank Chapman School of Seamanship. It's right here in Stuart, Florida. If you're looking to take a marine surveying class, captain's license course, Yamaha mechanics, or any kind of seamanship course, check them out at chapman.org. Please hit that subscribe, follow, or like button. And please tune in next Thursday and every Thursday for the Nauti Buoys Boat Show. Every week we will have exciting guests and informative news. May you have fair winds, following seas, and tight lines. God bless you, everybody.